What's up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Lance Williams. How's it going?
I'm doing fine. I'm just waking up from all the draft coverage.
It's a lot, and this is the standard is a standard. It's the Behind the Steel Curtain flagship podcast. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and so sit back and let's talk about some Pittsburgh Steelers. But man, you are right. That draft, they only had 6 draft picks compared to last year when they had 9. I mean, they only had 6. There was no first-round pick. But from a podcasting standpoint, it was a lot. That was a lot.
If they had 9 picks, I would have just passed out, man.
Well, we didn't do all of that last year. I think we did a recap of every day, and that was it. And you did the first day with us because you hated them trading up to get Devin Bush.
Yes.
You said that you can check the tape. And after that, you didn't pay attention.
like whatever. But to tease my show on Friday, I'm going to let loose on the draft.
Good.
Just got to get it all out.
Good.
You guys know I hate the draft. I hate almost everything that it stands for, other than the fact that it stands for hope. It stands for hope. Yeah. You're bringing in fresh new players. It stands for hope. Because I just think in general, the way people evaluate drafts are just completely 100% wrong. And I was put on, I believe, the correct path by friend of the program, Jim Wexel. He put me on the correct path in terms of how drafts should be evaluated.
Well, it's just so overblown. And it's no longer, you hear back and you read stories about in the 70s when they had, I don't know, like 12 or 13 rounds. There were no undrafted rookies. It was just you either got drafted or you didn't. And there was no fanfare. You read about it in the paper the next day. And in the NFL, and they're smart. They know how to make money. They want to publicize. I do want to ask you, in hindsight, how was the virtual draft, in your opinion?
I would never watch a draft like it used to be. I thought the virtual draft worked so well. I don't need guys to travel and cry in the green room. I could just have them cry at home with their families. That's fine. I don't need everything. There was nothing missing out of that draft other than I would have advised Roger Goodell to wear non-monochromatic zip-up sweaters. Also, I would have had, if I thought you were going to be a first rounder, I might have went to your house and changed your window dressings like Joe Burrow. I might have updated your living room or something so it didn't look so bad and drastic. Or I would have invited every first rounder to Cliff Kingsbury's house and had the draft in his living room.
He's living right.
Then it would have been excellent.
Yes.
He has to be the most eligible bachelor in Phoenix, Arizona.
The funny thing for me is I'm with you. I don't need to see the bro hug with Roger Goodell and the players on the stage. Show me the craziness that was the background images. Like you saw Bill Belichick, his dog was just sitting in the chair. So it's hysterical. You had, I think it was Eason, the quarterback from Washington that was projected to possibly be a late first or second round pick. Didn't get picked till the 3rd round, I believe. They're just sitting there in their living room. And the best part about it is I don't think they had any idea when the cameras were going to cut to them. And no one did. So except for Goodell, I think Goodell did. But there was one time they went to the the Las Vegas Raiders, and there's head coach John Gruden, his wife's in there, and they're looking at something and talking like 2 bottles of Advil and which one he's going to take. It's just, you saw some really candid moments. Then the Tennessee Titans behind
the kid is taking a dump in the bathroom in the background, and then Vrabel comes out the next day having to apologize that his kid wasn't taking a dump. Then his kid, it looks like Frozone. One of the kids has a mullet. It's great. I don't know if you saw CeeDee Lamb take the phone from his girlfriend when she tried to. That was great. And then I forget the one draft pick where the mom pulled the girlfriend off of her son's lap, get out of the camera shot. That was great. Nothing beats that, because next year it's going to be a mom saying, "Sit your ass down. The camera's on," and that will be the greatest. That will be the best.
Yeah, it'll be maybe you might have players that say next year, I don't want to go there and physically be there. I just would rather stay home. I'd rather be with family in my house. You can put a camera in my house. You did it last year. Why don't we do it again? That'll be
You know
interesting.
what would be the greatest is when Joe Thomas of the Cleveland Clowns was drafted number 3 overall, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Joe Thomas was
Yes.
an excellent player. He was on a boat with his dad fishing,
Uh-huh.
famously fishing. I think he was what was he just he was just fishing, right?
Yeah, deep sea fishing.
That would have been great if there was a camera on the boat while he was fishing. Hey Joe, you're the number 3 pick to the Browns. Great. Cut away. That'd have been great. He'd have been on a boat with his dad. Great. Cut away. That'd have been awesome.
It would have been good, and it would have made for good television. It made the event. I was worried. I thought it might be strange and weird, and there were moments, but at the same time, there was some entertainment value there, so that was good. Now,
Last thing, Jeff. Can you pop up Joey Jr.'s comment because it's absolutely right about Roger Goodell? I believe was drunk at the end. Roger was drunk. I think if Joey is right, I think this was Saturday. Roger was on a lazy boy, feet up, just reading the picks. I think Roger had a couple of shots. He had some Patron. Roger was 3 sheets to the win. He was all red. He looked flushed. He either was doing like 100 push-ups or he did like 100 shots. Either or.
But here's the thing for me. I'm sorry. We ripped on Goodell for changing so many times. Just don't even wear a suit at all. You're in your basement. Wear a t-shirt. He ended the draft in a t-shirt in like khakis. Just start off with that. Who cares? You don't need, I don't know, suit and all that stuff.
I vote for an NFL onesie with a big N on the front and F and L across the chest onesie.
There you go.
In the shape of a football. That'd be great.
That would be funny. That would be funny. Now, a lot of people might be tuning in thinking that we're going to be really diving into this draft class, and we're really not. We decided to go in a different direction. You know, all the other shows this week, whether it was Brian and Tony on Monday or Dave and Big Bro Rich last night, they're all diving into the draft and specific players, but we decided to go in a different way. We're going to go with Matt Canada. Now, Matt Canada, for those that don't know, is considered, and these are not my words, there's an extensive article about him in Sports Illustrated that was really, really well written. I highly recommend you look it up. And he is considered one of the most creative offensive minds in college football. Now, he never coached in the pros, but he had time at Pitt. He had time at NC State. He had time at Maryland. He had time at LSU. The biggest knock on him is that he never stayed in one place very long. He's very transient. But he took a year off. The Steelers bring him in as the quarterback's coach, and automatically we talked about it. Everyone else talked about it. There was speculation that will he be more than just a quarterback's coach? I've already seen people in the live chat, not on this show, but in prior shows, saying he's just going to be a quarterback's coach. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. How big of an impact will he have on this offense in 2020, and will he be an upgrade to Randy Land? Lance, what are your initial thoughts?
I don't care if you play Mason Rudolph, who everyone loves, and you play Duck, you got to average more than 18 points a game. And even if you don't, and I credit the Oracle Dave Schofield for really, you and Dave really, for taking Randy Land to task for the lack of offensive creativity last year. And you're running multiple sets of putting heavy personnel to run the ball, and you run exactly to the strong side, like there's any deception there. Just the vanilla nature of the offense. If you don't score points and they bring in a guy with this reputation, you know what it says. It says fresh ideas means you weren't up to the standard last year, and if you aren't, you'll be out of here. And so I think Matt Canada is going to have a tremendous impact on the Steelers draft. And I think you see that namely with the draft pick, with the 3rd round draft pick with the running back. I think he's going to have a significant impact. And I think it is an indictment on what happened with the offense last year.
Well, let's connect the dots, and this is something I love to do, and I do it when I find myself like I'm walking on the treadmill or I'm outside. I take to get on my bulletin board and I start connecting the red string, and there you go. So let's talk about players on the Steelers roster currently that he has ties with. He coached James Conner at Pitt. He coached Jalen Samuels at NC State. Both had career years when he was the offensive coordinator there. You go a step further. Man, they picked 3 offensive players. Okay. They picked 3 offensive players throughout the entire process. And he had a big say in Anthony McFarland, the running back. And then he also gave input on Antoine Brooks, the outside line or the linebacker / safety hybrid, both from Maryland. I'm sorry, but if you're just a quarterback coach, is Mike Tomlin or are Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert going to be leaning on you for inside information like that? I don't think so. I really don't. I think they're talking, especially with McFarland, they're looking at him and saying, we like this guy. What are your thoughts? And how can you utilize him in the offense? And how can you help Randy get him open in space to be a dynamic playmaker? Because you saw it on film when you watched that 2018 Ohio State game. He is and can be very dynamic against really good competition. So, Lance, I mean, the connections are there. Connect the dots. He could be a really big part of this offensive scheme from a schematic standpoint. I guess the question for me is, what would that even look like?
Yeah, let me read a tweet that you posted in an article, and check out Jeff's article entitled "Mike Tomlin Admits Matt Canada Will Be Doing More for the Steelers Other Than Working with Quarterbacks." When he said, Missy Matthews wrote, "Matt Canada will get a chance to work hand in hand with all of our quarterbacks, and not even that, he'll bring some fresh ideas too." And there was an article I think that you quoted about Matt Canada, about Canada's schemes have been regarded by many in the coaching profession as some of the best in the business. Specifically, Canada has been lauded for his use of pre-snap movement, the jet sweep concept, and for finding ways to tailor his offensive schemes to the strength of his personnel. I think those are all of your criticisms of Randy Land.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. It's okay. You know, people always want to, I don't know what they pine for. If they pine for an offensive mastermind, those offensive masterminds get promoted to head coach. It's okay for a coach to accept help. You know, to me, that shows great humility. You know, I have experience as a head coach. Lance, you have experience as a head coach. You learn really quick. And especially if you're young, like I was just out of college when I got my first head coaching job at the high school varsity level, and you're thrust into that position, you learn really quick you need to rely on others to help you because you can't do it all on your own.
Cannot do it all.
No. So Randy Fichtner would be stupid not to accept Matt Canada's help. And Mike Tomlin would be stupid if he didn't say, Randy, I really want you implementing some of this guy's thoughts into the offensive game plan. Now, whether they're going to have him as the actual pass game coordinator, some teams have a pass game coordinator, run game coordinator, and then there's the offensive coordinator. No one knows that. We won't know that. We might never know that, but we probably won't know that until closer to the season. But still, you need help. So I don't want this to come off as like, well, Randy Land is Randy Land. He was definitely worthy of criticism in 2019. But that doesn't mean that he can't revamp things. And if we're using the Randy Land, analogy, spruce up some rides a little bit. Let's take what we do well. Let's bring in some new attractions. It doesn't have to be an overhaul. We don't have to build the Steel Phantom 3.0. Maybe we just make some improvements here and there, some little kiddie rides here, little over there, and it can make all the difference in the people that come into your park. So Randy Land can be better if he takes the help, which I think he will.
So you're saying, Jeff, adding vegan and healthy options at the concession stand, like maybe adding coconut water, some fresh, some water options, beverage options, some hummus.
Just options. Yes, okay. Just options. And so the snippet of the article that you read is actually from another one of our writers who has been on Dave and Big Bro Rich's Stat Geek before. He's a high school coach in New Jersey, very well established, very smart X's and O's guys. He runs a lot of our film room articles, and he wrote about how Matt Canada can impact the Steelers offense. It's a great article. So check that out if you haven't
Let
yet.
me read a little bit more from
Go ahead.
the article, because we talked about earlier in the show about how the running back room has been heavily influenced by Matt Canada with Connor Samuels and now McFarland. And the article goes on to say at NC State, he turned Brissett into a pro prospect and then helped sophomore Jalen Samuels have a breakout season. At Pitt, he built a record-setting offense around Peterman and James Conner, who's returning from cancer treatment. Conner flourished, becoming a 1,000-yard rusher. None of the offenses mentioned above looked alike. At Northern Illinois, he favored spread sets and ran the ball with his quarterback. At Wisconsin, it was a 22 personnel power football. At NC State, he threw the ball like it was going out of style. And at Pitt, it was all of the above. The common thread that bound each of these offenses was Canada's use of shifts, motions, tempos, and read options. So that tells you right there, in 4 different offenses, he was able to tailor his offense to his personnel. And also, when you revamp an offense completely and it performs extremely well in the first year, that means your ability to communicate and translate the verbiage and the offensive concepts to your players who are very young is outstanding. So it shows that he's an innovator and he's a great communicator at the same time.
I've always felt there's 2 types of coaches. There's a coach that comes in with his system, and he needs to get his players in his system to work. And that might take some time. I always refer to it as the Herman Boone. He was the Denzel Washington character on Remember the Titans, right, where he says, I run the veer. And I've got like 5 plays. It's like Novocaine. Give it time. It'll work. And then there's coaches like Matt Canada. They come in and say, well, let me just see what we have. Let me just take a look at what we have. We got a veteran quarterback. Big arm quarterback. Well, we don't know anymore, but you know what I mean. We got a veteran quarterback. We've got a running back I've worked with before. We've got another running back I've worked with before. We just drafted a really big, fast, strong, 6-foot. Oh, there we go. I think we're back. All right. I don't know if we had a little connection problem there or not. So I don't know what it's going to look like. No one does, because we don't know how much of an impact he's going to have. But Lance, it sounds like you think that he's going to have a significant impact.
Yeah, I think he'll have. I mean, you've seen his pedigree says that he will. It will just be how Tomlin manages the relationship of the offensive staff, and if he will let Canada have an impact. If he allows Canada to really and encourages Randy Land to incorporate some of the concepts. And let's not forget, if the quarterback likes the concepts that Matt Canada is implementing, if he can convince Ben, that goes a long way to convincing everybody, because we've said over and over and over again, is outside of ownership, Ben Roethlisberger is the most powerful person in the Steelers organization. You convince the quarterback, you will convince the coordinator, you will convince the head coach, and that's how it'll work. So he has to sell Ben Roethlisberger first and foremost.
Okay, before I forget, Just Me puts $5 in the tip jar, says, hey, folks, like the show and share the YouTube channel, bring in new Steeler fans. Thank you very much for the tip. Thank you for spreading the love. We appreciate all the help. Absolutely. Still, now let's talk about what you just said, because when we talk about the impact for Matt Canada, let's not also forget that it's about the quarterbacks. So if he's the type of coach that we all think he is, and that is he's kind of like a chameleon. Wherever he goes, he's going to kind of make it work, whatever that is. Then I have no doubt that he'll be able to sit down in a meeting with Ben Roethlisberger and say, okay, Ben, let's watch some film. I want to see what you see. I want to know what you like. I want to know different plays. Let's talk about red zone. Let's talk about opening drive. Let's talk about scripted plays. I want to know what you think and what you like. And so then we're going to take that and I'm going to say, hey, well, what if we try this along with this? It's not going to change too much. It's going to help you read this coverage, that coverage, whatever. I feel like that's going to be the best case scenario for the Steelers when you have a veteran quarterback. No, this isn't Todd Haley. Ben, you're not going to be doing this anymore. You're doing this. And what happened? We all know what happened. Ben got ticked off. He went on the radio show and said things that he probably shouldn't have. This way with Matt Canada, if he's going to impact it in the passing game, that's going to be big for me. If he has that type of personality that he doesn't care, it doesn't have to be his system. He's going to make whatever system he wants to run that's going to work well. That's huge. But secondly, my gosh, how good is it going to be for the backup quarterbacks to actually have someone to bounce ideas off of to help them prepare on their own? I mean, people talk about Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges being ill-prepared last year. They didn't have a quarterbacks coach. You have two young quarterbacks, and so all of a sudden Roethlisberger goes down in week 2, and suddenly they're thrust into the starting role, and you could tell they weren't ready. And it wasn't just physically, it was mentally. They weren't processing things. I feel like Matt Canada working with the backups, whether it's Paxton Lynch, Devlin Hodges, Mason Rudolph, whatever the trio is for the 2020 season, I think that's going to be an impact too. Do you agree?
I agree. And there's an interesting question in the live chat from Reginald Rivers. Excuse me. He asked, should the Steelers go after Josh Rosen? I agree 100%. I think Josh Rosen as your third quarterback over Devlin Duck Hodges would be a significant upgrade. I mean, you're still talking about a guy with first round pedigree. And you're talking about a guy that was a parade All-American in high school, was an All-American at UCLA. You're talking about a player that's probably always been better than Duck Hodges, probably has always been better than Mason Rudolph, from Pop Warner to college to every level. So bringing a guy like Josh Rosen in the building, I think only helps your team. I think they still have to get that quarterback room a little bit better. I'm still very nervous about where the room is. If Ben Roethlisberger suffers an injury, outside of the defense playing tremendous football moving forward, I just don't have much confidence in either one of those guys. So I think Rosen, if you could get, and you can get Rosen for dirt cheap, that's a first round talent. You bring him in your building, he's absolutely an upgrade over Devlin Duck Hodges. Better physically, everything.
I wouldn't be against it. It has to fit financially. If it does, then that's great. But I think regardless of who they have, having a quarterback's coach matters, especially to young quarterbacks. Ben Roethlisberger always had a quarterback coach when he was young in his formidable years as a young player in the National Football League. Ken Anderson was his quarterback coach for a long time. Randy Fichtner was his most current, but his last quarterback coach, I should say. And then he just became the offensive coordinator. He always had someone to vent to bounce ideas off of. And they didn't give that to those young guys. And someone said, well, that's on Tomlin. I think it was Ezra. Yeah, that is on Tomlin. It is on Tomlin for not having your staff fully staffed, because they have one of the smallest coaching staffs in the National Football League. Let
me say this about Canada too. And I think, and we kind of touched upon it in a couple of shows back when we were talking about, when do you expect Bionic Big B to look like himself? Well, first, when he cuts the beard. And secondly, I thought probably towards the last half of the season, last quarter of the season, you were surprised that I said that long. I think I can remember Wes said like 2 games. I think you said maybe about 3 or 4 games. With that being said, if Canada can come in and make it easy for him to play offense, make it easier to really facilitate him getting back into a rhythm and feeling comfortable with the play calls, how he sees it, then that will go a long way, because I think that's going to be the challenge offensively for the Steelers, is getting Ben back to a place where he's comfortable and he can be Bionic Big Ben.
The most if you're looking for an NFL comp in terms of play calling and motion and things like that, everyone points to Andy Reid in Kansas City. You ever see those plays where Patrick Mahomes, it's just so easy because they schemed it open?
Yeah.
He can do that. He can do that. And that's something the Steelers typically don't do. But you give Ben Roethlisberger a schemed open swing pass to a running back for 12 yards, shoot, he's going to get comfortable real quick. And if you're constantly giving him third and longs, something that Mason Rudolph, Devlin Hodges saw repeatedly because predictability and things like that, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. We'll see. We will see. I'm excited for this angle to the upcoming season. There's a lot of different puzzle pieces that are kind of getting put together, and he's definitely one on the offensive side that's worth noting. Matt Canada. So we'll see.
The other thing, and I think I'll give Tomlin some credit because it's very hard to step back and say he's bringing in some fresh ideas. When you say that, you're basically saying our offense was pretty stale.
Yeah.
It needs to change. And to admit that and bring a coach in to address that, I think that's the sign of a good head coach, where your goal should be, filling your staff to a point where it's going to help you win football games, where at the end of the day, that's all it's about, is winning, and you bring in the best men or women that will help you facilitate that. So kudos to Tomlin for bringing a guy like Canada in to freshen up, quote unquote, the offense.
Well, to be honest with you, I would be concerned if Tomlin didn't say that it was stale.
Yeah.
If Tomlin came into 2020 and said, well, I thought our offense was good last year. Wait, whoa. What?
Yeah. Like,
what?
You scored 18.
I don't think so.
You scored 18.
Yeah.
I think where you come to that conclusion was really down the stretch where they just couldn't score points, man. It was just a struggle. It was pulling wisdom teeth to try to score points. I mean, go watch that Jets game. If you're on a live chat, go watch that Jets game last year, and you're just like, dude, they could play 12 quarters and they wouldn't score 30 points.
You're right. You're right. Now, we have about 15 minutes or so left in the show. Lance and I were kind of tossing around ideas of what to talk about. And he said something. I was like, let's do that. He says, let's open it up for questions. We don't do questions a lot on this show. For some reason, I don't know why. We typically have a full 45 minutes to an hour planned out, and we just roll through it. We never really give the people that are watching live in the live chat. And right now we have about 170 people in the live chat. So if you have a question for the show, by all means, put it in there. It doesn't have to be a super chat. We'll try to get to as many as possible. I do want to ask you a question, Lance, and that is, do you believe any significance to a jersey number? Because now the rookies are choosing their numbers. Free agents are getting their numbers. Is there any bad juju, no pun intended, for a jersey number in your opinion?
No, not really. I mean, I guess me personally, I would not put pressure on me by being Claypool and picking number 88. I wouldn't do that.
Well, he said he's wearing 11. He came out tonight and said on Twitter he's wearing number 11 because he was 83 in college. 8 plus 3 is 11.
That's dumb. That's terrible.
The most recent 11 was Moncrief.
Yeah, well, let's just hope that.
Before Moncrief was Marcus Wheaton.
Oh, well. Only superstition like that I believe in. Well, and it got broken. I was told in the live chat by people was the Madden curse, and they said it didn't affect Mahomes. You're right, it did not. So I don't know. I just think 11 is a weird number. That's a quarterback.
I don't
number.
know. Yeah, you would think. Okay, let's get to some questions here. Steelers Freak says, are you okay with playing games without fans? I don't want to get into a political discussion here. We'll answer this simply, Lance. What are your thoughts?
Sure. I mean, I like games. I like to watch new football games. So sure. I mean, I'm not going to a football game anytime soon, but I'm different. Only game I'm going to next for the Steelers is a Super Bowl. Yeah. I've been to pretty much every type of game. Heinz, Three Rivers, playoff games, both coasts, everything. The only thing left for me is a Super Bowl, but I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter. You'll watch anyway.
Yeah, well, you just took the word. Games with no fans is better than no games at all. Yeah. So if they can have it in a controlled environment and they can feel that it's safe for players and staff, then If we have
And
to do a season with no fans,
the ratings are going to be sick.
they would be as
I
the owners would be mad because they're going to lose all that seat revenue. But ultimately, the TV revenue will be through the roof.
That's gravy. So all that other stuff is gravy. The TV
right.
contracts.
Yes or no? Here's a yes or no. Do the Steelers make the Super Bowl if Ben was healthy last season with that defense?
No.
We know they make the playoffs. How far do they go?
Playoffs. They're probably losing the divisional round. I think they're very competitive. I think that Kansas City team was just so supernatural on offense. I think it would have been tough on any defense. The stuff that they did in the playoffs, they were down by 10 points in every single playoff game, and I believe won by close to double digits in every game. They're one step ahead of defense right now.
Yeah, I think they make the playoffs for sure, and they might even be in the AFC Championship if that. Seeing how the seedings fell out there, it's just tough to predict. Wes with a good question. He says, "How many touchdowns do you think Ben will throw next year?" His prediction is 48, 43 to wide receivers and tight ends combined.
I'll say if he throws for 48 touchdowns, they're not making the playoffs.
What? I didn't get a new elbow to hand off. All right, just remember.
That's right. I didn't get my elbow fixed to hand off. That has to be a T-shirt. Hey,
I actually have reached out about that. They're mulling some ideas around.
Well, at least put my name underneath the hashtag. I'd like to see my name on a T-shirt. I think if he's throwing that much, they're behind a lot.
Yeah.
That's why I think if they're throwing that much. I think they're behind a lot. I'd rather see Ben in the 30s. I'd rather see Ben in the 30s with low interceptions with the 1,000-yard rusher.
I'll go for 43. He's a throw for 43, or have to total 43.
You know why you picked 43? You did that subconsciously. It just came out. You didn't even realize why you picked 43. Now you realize why you.
Why that?
Because 4 plus 3
because of Troy.
No, because 4 plus 3 you did that subconsciously. Like that's how big Ben fan. You poof. See, he's in your DNA. He's in 4th. Yeah. See, that's all those 7 jerseys.
Yeah, I have a lot of them.
Extreme. Yep.
I have a lot of them. Let's see. There's a couple other questions in here. I've lost them. There we go. Dave says, "How many points do we score if the first offensive drive?" Oh, how many points did we score? 3 off a turnover. That's a good point. I don't think that the Steelers got the ball, whether it was the first possession or if it was on the second possession of the game. I don't think they ever scored points on that drive, except for in San Francisco when they fumbled. They got the ball in the red zone and had to kick a field goal.
Yeah, that's bad.
You got to start off better than that. Absolutely agree.
That's bad. And so I see James Calbaugh saying 48 touchdowns is MVP numbers if you got a winning record. So
here's a good one from Kyle Smith. Will Claypool be higher than wide receiver 4 next year? This is going to be a really good battle to watch.
No, I don't. I think he'll be. I think he could battle to be like 3.5. That's a Dave answer. He could be 3. He could be no shot to the Oracle. He could be 3.5 with Washington. I think 1 and 2 are set. I think with Ben coming back, he has to get guys on the field that he's familiar with, so he can get back to form as quick as possible. And I think a rookie just has to earn trust. And I think the way things are now with no OTAs, no mini camps, I think it's going to be very tough for the rookie to make up for that lost time to eventually ascend to the number 3 player, the number 3 quarterback. I think it's just going to be really tough for rookies across the NFL this year.
I agree with you. To me, it's going to be not so much what Claypool can do, but will Roethlisberger ever develop a relationship on the field with James Washington? That is a player that he does have time with in the preseason, working with him, but for some reason they have never connected and been on the same page. And maybe it started in Denver. James Washington's rookie year when he dove for that ball that he didn't have to. Ben made the comments afterwards. They got blown out of proportion. He shouldn't have said it. I'm not apologizing for him, but still, they've never been on the same page. James Washington played great when Ben was out last year, but if they don't have a symbiotic relationship and he's throwing the ball well to Claypool will be number 3. You heard it here first.
Again, what does it all come down to? 4 plus 3.
Number 7.
4 plus 3 equals 7.
There you go. This is a fan favorite. North Top asks, do you think the turnover streak will end this season?
The question should be how soon. I don't know, man. I mean, so that's what is it like at 22, 23?
23, I think. 23.
Yeah, man, I'm going to be positive. Man. It's going to end the first game of the season. Positive. It's going to end. No, I'm not going to be positive. We're going to think it's going to end the first game of the season. They're going to fumble late with about 2 minutes to go. I have no idea, but I know it better end quickly. I mean, because you saw how many turnovers they generated last year. It was about 35 turnovers, the most in football, but they were only a plus 11.
Yeah.
They had like 22, 23 turnovers. I mean, if they want to go to the playoffs and compete for a championship, it better in week 1.
Or just end in general.
Yes.
Or just end in general. Here we go. Kathy, this is a good question. She says, have they decided the season will for sure start on time anywhere on the schedule release? News came out today from the director of PR for the NFL that the NFL is still going to release a full schedule, and they are planning on releasing it on time, which should be May 9th. That's next week. And from that, I'm sure they're going to have ideas in place for if they have to trim the fat, so to speak, if they have to cut the schedule down for health purposes. But as of right now, the NFL has been doing what they've been doing all off season, and that is we're going to plan on like a 2020 season is going to happen. We're going to keep pressing forward. If we have to make changes, we'll make changes, but we're going to plan as if we're okay. And so that's what they're going to do. So May 9th, I believe, or around that date is what he said in the tweet. They're going to release a full 16-game schedule. Fantastic that. Dive into it. We will be doing a special schedule release podcast as we always do, which is always fun.
The crystal ball doing that. I love doing. Look, yes. I'm just going to go into the straight cynic. I'm going to go into the 50-year-old cynic from Northside Pittsburgh. Hell yes, there's going to be a season. The NFL does not care about the health of players. It does not, right? It cares about the health of fans. But, when you have a commissioner that said the NFL is about as dangerous as him falling off of a couch, they don't care about players' health. So fans won't be in the stadiums. Players will be playing. There will be a 16-game season and playoffs. Now, I want to commend anybody that is sheltering in place and doing what they have to do to keep people safe for the pandemic. But I'll guarantee you, it was hot in California this past weekend. There was an explosion at the beaches. If there's no NFL football in the fall, come on now. Yeah, I don't even want to think about what that looks like. There will be football in the fall. Fans won't be around. Players will be playing. Don't even worry about that. You will be watching the Thursday night game of Kansas City versus somebody. There will be football.
Like I said earlier, if there's no fans or no fans, but think about this. If you're a sports fan and not just an NFL football fan, we could be seeing some of an unprecedented time for sports when things start coming back. So already the PGA Tour, I'm a golfer. I do love golf. They're planning on coming back at the beginning of June. They've already said the first 4 events, there are no spectators allowed. So they're going the whole month, but they're going to be back. And so it's going to be something to watch. The NBA, I guarantee you, and the NHL are going to do the same thing once they feel it's safe for their players and their staff. And so you're going to have NBA and NHL finishing up, going into playoffs. for the golfing fan out there like myself, the majors are going to be moved to the fall, and then football is probably going to start, and they might not have fans. It's going to be, wow,
Yes,
mine is just exploding.
It's I mean, look, facts are, players, they get paid $1 zillion, right? They get paid a bunch. And with that comes, look, man, I'm paying you $30 million to play football. You better go accept that health risk. Now, it might seem bad. It sounds bad, but I'm going to tell you that's how it's going to be. Now, Johnny and his dad, Sam, no, you stay home. Because the fan experience at home is great. If you're a season ticket holder, I'm sure you'll be like, look, man, don't charge me if I can't go. But the ball players will be playing. There will be football, and we'll be giving you fantastic content and programming every Sunday.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Don't worry. Don't worry. You're going to get your fix in the fall for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. Now, Ezra, he was very vocal in the live chat about the draft, and he might have been one of the guys that spawned me into going off a little bit. I don't know what night it was. I think it was the second show that we did, the third round, the day 2. I don't know. He says, does it piss you guys off that the Ravens had another great draft? I'm pissed. Look, man, you can't live in their world. Like you gotta control. Like you gotta focus on your team, and you gotta trust your team. You don't win games in April.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I agree with you, but nobody agrees with us.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't win games in April. And you know what? The funny thing is like the Ravens. Like people are forgetting. And you'll hear people like Mel Kiper say, well, that pick's going to take over for Marshall Yanda. No, you don't just pick someone up that takes over for Marshall Yanda. Marshall Yanda is a future Hall of Famer. He's a tremendous football player. Didn't like the guy because he played for that purple and black team, but you have to admit talent is talent. And so for me, I like to say, and I live in Ravens country, okay? I see these morons here in Maryland wearing purple all day, every day. And they always look at me because all I wear is black and gold stuff, whether it's Penguins, Pirates, or Steelers. Like that's all I own, really. And so it's like, hey, we'll see what happens this season. You can talk all you want, but guess what? You played one more game than the Steelers did last year.
Yep.
One more game. So good job, Lamar Jackson, on the MVP. You played one more game. Nah, shut your mouth. That's basically
like I won't even add to it. Don't let you want Ezra. Make sure you listen to. I said it on Friday because I think I'm gonna make an altar walk and I'm gonna get into the pulpit and just lay it out on why all this stuff. Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of that stuff.
Yeah. I get it, and we did it on the website. We had a writer who compared all the Steelers, all the AFC North offenses, and then all the AFC North defenses, and ranked them out. And it was a cool exercise. It's something to do, something to talk about after the draft. But ultimately, I don't care what Mel Kiper says. I don't care what Todd McShay says. Hey, and Lance is going to talk about this on Friday. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Hey man, it is getting a little raucous in the live chat. Ezra and somebody else is about to throw blows. I love it. I'll referee. I don't want to condone violence on a platform. I don't want to get us in trouble. The nation needs to take care of the nation. You guys need to hug it out in the live comments. It's getting hot. Hug it out. We're all members of the nation, but it's getting a little, man, post-draft, let's get a little wild in the live chat. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, that's fine. That is fine. It's going
to be interesting. Put on headgear and have a mouthpiece and a little sparring. Nice.
This draft class for the Steelers, I mean, you're also looking at the Ravens, who had a lot of draft capital, and the Steelers had very little. So I think it's going to be natural for someone to say, look at all their picks, and they were higher picks. And it all started with J.K. Dobbins. That's where it started. It stemmed from that. After the Steelers passed on him and he goes to Baltimore, oh my gosh. Like I got a text from a good friend of mine who's a Ravens season ticket holder, and he said, look at this feed. It was a Reddit feed during the draft of all these Steeler fans just, they were pissed out of their mind when that happened. Like, not the Ravens. I like our pick. I really do like Chase Claypool. The more I study him, the more I research him, the more I watch film of him and highlights and stuff like that, I think he is going to really help this team, Lance. I really do.
I mean, those physical metrics with the Steelers' ability to develop wide receivers is what they call a good combination. I mean, honestly, I only know 2 Ravens picks. I know the Queen kid and I know J.K. Dobbins. That's it. The only reason why I know the Queen kid is because the Queen kid was probably like the youngest guy in the draft. He was like 20 years of age. And I was just amazed that somebody that young is drafted in the first round. And he must be a phenom. I mean, you've got to be incredible being an SEC player, being that young, drafted in the first round. I mean, you're 20. I mean, geez, you're playing against grown men at 20. I mean, you are a freak. But, it's the NFL. I mean, they have to be coached. It all has to work out and it has to happen. And see, I'm not going to tease what I'm going to talk about. See, it's like you said, Jeff, you don't win in April. You don't win in April. You don't win from guys you put names on in the draft. And Sean Manahan is right. Minkah was better than any pick that the Ravens got.
I don't think people are really thinking, and Sean put $2 in the tip jar. We appreciate that. Thank you, Sean. I don't think people are really grasping what Minkah Fitzpatrick year 2 in Pittsburgh is going to look like. I think it's going to be even better. Like year 1 was. I mean, you have to understand, like, this guy can be transcendent more so than he was last year. Wait till he gets comfortable. Wait till he's moving around, roaming around, making plays. You know what sold me? Do you know what one play sold me on Minkah Fitzpatrick? And it wasn't an interception, but you might get it. You might get it.
I think I know what play. It's the play in Arizona.
Yep.
It's the play in Arizona where he tackled the quarterback in the open field in the red zone.
Kyler Murray, one-on-one.
Key and diagnosed, bang, hit him in the flat, and just lit him up in the flat and just eliminated that play. You see?
Mm-hmm.
See?
We got it.
See? We did not rehearse that, listeners. We did not rehearse that. This is me. Because that play stood out to me as well, even more so than the interceptions. Because to make that play on Kyler Murray, you have to key and diagnose instantly. You even have to do it before a snap. You have to absolutely know what play is coming and get there, bang, make the play. That was a fantastic play. If you guys can find that play, look it up. I think it's one of the best plays that Minkah made last year.
And it stalled a drive. It forced a field goal. And Kyler Murray probably makes a lot of safeties miss. You put Terrell Edmonds in that spot, probably a touchdown. It's probably a touchdown.
Falls in the air for sure. He doesn't catch it. He doesn't catch it. I mean, Twitter is wow. I mean, Twitter is bad too. Twitter gets you. There's a guy that did some cut-ups of like every bad play that Edmonds made with the ball in the air. It's just really bad. So I was just like, wow, they're killing
the low lights. Those are low lights.
Dim lights. Definitely no highlights. They were just dim lights.
Let me say this, that this is for Ezra out there who is really still down in the dumps about the Ravens draft. Think about the Steelers defense, and then it'll start perking you up a little bit, because the Ravens defense, in my opinion, is not that great. I believe that they're a little overhyped, but the Steelers defense, in my opinion, is legit, and they're only going to get better because players like Minkah Fitzpatrick are going to be better. Devin Bush is going to be better. If Stephon Tuitt is back and healthy, it's going to be better. TJ Watt is probably going to get better somehow, some way. I don't know how, but he will get better. If Bud Dupree, this defense, guys and gals, Steven Nelson, Joe Hayden. I mean, this is a stacked defense, Lance. You should be excited, not you, Lance, the fans that are listening and watching. You should be excited about this defense. You really should. Just going to put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
All right. Well, this is a good show. I like answering some questions. Maybe we will actually do this more in the offseason until the season starts.
And the fans almost fought in the live chat. You got to like that too.
I don't like that. I never understood that. Like when you
almost. See, I like the almost. Yeah. Still, I mean, come on, Steeler fans, we're passionate. I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, I've seen Steeler fans go at each other, then hug it out and go punch a fan from another team. I mean, I've seen that. So
probably went and got a West Virginia fan to have their back too.
Absolutely. It was the West Virginia fan that started the whole thing.
That is a good possibility. Hey, like I always say to my students, to my kids, to my team when I used to coach, look, it's okay to disagree. You know, you can have a difference of opinion. You don't always have to be right. So for me, like Lance and I have disagreed on a million things. We're the homer and the hater. That's fine. He has his opinions. I have mine. It's okay. Like that's life. We're okay. We're all right.
Oh,
All right.
now the
I do want to
live
remind
chat.
it.
Let me just say something before you say the live chat is popping, Jeff. Steelers freak out there. It's like, can you throw that up there? I'm gonna help. I'm gonna throw him the phone, literally. All single girls hit up Steeler freak after the stream. Hit him up. Hit him up. Steelers.
What is this? Is he? He's using us as a pickup line.
Yeah,
That's classic.
You gotta. He said married chicks are okay, but bring beer. You gotta. Hey, if you're throwing it out there like that, Steeler freak, you gotta put a picture on your profile of
true.
yourself. Don't go on the internet and find a guy with a 6-pack. Oh no. Actually, he might have a 6-pack, so Steeler free.
You never know.
Just saying.
You never know.
For all the live chat.
All right. So just a reminder to everyone out there, make sure you stay tuned with all of our podcasts. Make sure you check us out on audio as well. I'm thinking about midway through May, we're going to be starting to do some audio only podcasts that are going to debut in the morning. And then these podcasts will be debuted in the afternoon or shortly after noon. So if you don't listen to us on audio platform, make sure you don't miss out on any of that content. The audio shows will be shorter. We might have contributions from everyone involved. We're talking about 20, 25 minutes max. Check those out. Keep you up to date with that. But make sure you check us out tomorrow night on the Steelers preview. That's myself, Brian Anthony Davis, and Dave Schofield. Lance will be on Friday. Yeah, I said it. And Saturday is the debut of Tony DeFeo's solo show. I don't even know what it's called yet.
No, yeah, man.
We'll let you know.
Oh, before we get out of here, pick up the Brad Jewett. Good luck on your finals. Brad is in the live chat. So, Brad, get off. Stop listening to the show, man. Go study. Don't blame me if you get a B- like your overall draft grade. So don't blame me. So you don't.
D equals diploma, just so you know.
Was that how you argued it, Jeff, when you came home? Well, Dad.
That was just basically how I got through college.
D equals diploma.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Well, anyway, let me go ahead and close this out. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
Amen. Stay safe, everyone. We will see you next week for another episode of The Standard is the Standard.